Here's a story that's going to surprise you. Many of the richest people in our nation do not think they're rich. Joining us with more on that right now, Newsmax TV contributor Morgan Thompson. What is this?
Surprising but true, JD. Despite being among the wealthiest 10% of Americans, a majority of millionaires consider themselves middle or upper middle class. According to a recent CNBC survey, 44% of the millionaires polled think of themselves as middle class, and 40% consider themselves upper middle class. Now, it's interesting to point out that more than 3/4 of today's millionaires are self-made and started out as middle or lower class. So they're likely to identify with the middle class and often hold traditional middle class values of hard work, education, and frugality. Now, JD, I know you remember that story I did 2 weeks ago on how fewer Americans self-identify as being middle class, according to a recent Gallup poll. Now, those responders base their social class primarily on income, while the millionaires polled took into consideration other factors like social values. So the question is, why do so many Americans find their social status to be so much lower than in previous decades? Is it because the cost of living is so high now? Or is it more a reflection of the consumer culture so prevalent in the media, where jets, yachts, champagne-filled parties, that's the definition of success?
Well, you know, Morgan, it's interesting because as you were giving us the facts and figures, the footage we ran was of a private jet, complete with flight attendants and all sorts of accoutrements. And I think a lot of us define wealth as, well, if I've got my own private jet with 2 or 3 flight attendants, then I'm really flying high.
Yes.
And the other thing is, I guess with inflation and with taxation, you don't get to keep what you make.
No, and you know, growing up, that was the thing. I want to be a millionaire. That was our definition of success. And let's face it, $1 million just doesn't go as far as it used to. You're not having that jet with those flight attendants if you're a millionaire, a mere millionaire, I should say.
Well, don't get me wrong. I would welcome the day to be a millionaire with an M.
Yes.
It's just that now we've seen with high-tech industries and just the spirit of entrepreneurial endeavor, there are billionaires with a B, and quite a collection of billionaires in our society.
Well, and JD, that's a really important point, and that's one of the biggest things. The wealth gap now is not just between, lower class and middle class or lower class and upper class. Now you're looking at the super wealthy as opposed to the merely wealthy, and it's a huge gap.
So I'm wondering now, closed circuit to Robin Leach. We used to have lifestyles of the rich and famous. What is next? Lifestyles of the really, really, really rich and somewhat famous?
I think that's where it's headed. I really do. And it's a microcosm of society as a whole. And again, 90% of us would love to be millionaires, but the millionaires are going, it doesn't go that far anymore.
Well, a lot of it, what you make, they're going to take it, which is why I always fought for lower taxes during my days in Congress. Morgan, thanks so much for your report. And now it's time to hear what you have to say. We receive a whole bunch of comments every day, but we're going to highlight a couple with you before we part company. First, MW from San Antonio, with Hillary Clinton's emails on his mind. In fact, he uses email to communicate with us, saying, it's a good thing Hillary, Mrs. Clinton, had her private email server guarded by the Secret Service. Secret Service, huh? Well, we know they've had their share of problems. We hope those problems will be fixed quickly. Also, we heard from Brett, who sent in his comment via Facebook. He keeps it succinct and to the point, saying, I enjoy seeing you on Newsmax TV. Thanks, Britt. I enjoy the fact that you enjoy seeing me on Newsmax TV. And I hope you'll keep those comments coming in. Remember, you can send your comments to us via email, newsmaxprime@newsmaxtv.com. We're also on Facebook and Twitter. Now, before we go, a quick reminder. Tomorrow night, we'll have the next installment of the 2016 People's Presidential Project, courtesy of our friends at Concord TV in Concord, New Hampshire. We will hear from New Jersey Governor Chris Christie and Maryland Governor Martin O'Malley. The question asked, what makes you the people's president? So we'll get their answers tomorrow night. That'll be right here on Newsmax Prime. See you tomorrow night, 8 o'clock Eastern. Stay brave, stay free, stay tuned.